for the key. There's a place called Kokomo. That's where you wanna go to get away from it all. Bodies in the sand. Tropical dreams and nothing in your hand. We'll be falling in love to the rhythm of a steel drum band. Down to Kokomo, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take it. Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama. Key Largo, Montego, baby, where we go. Kokomo. We can take it fast and then we'll take it slow. That's where we wanna go. We gotta go. Martinique, that Montserrat mystique. Out to the sea.
All right, hi there. Today, I'm going to be looking at more factoring, chapter 4-4 for Algebra 2. So this one has to do with, when I put something in front of the x squared. Ax squared plus bx plus c is my standard form. Anytime you get something where there's a number other than 1, or the implied 1, in front of the x squared, it becomes a little more challenging to factor it and later solve it. So the way I like to do these is, for example, if I have this problem here, 4x squared minus 4x minus 3, and the directions will simply say factor it. What I do first is I go a times c, all right, which is, in this case, it's 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12, and then I'm looking for the factors of negative 12 that add up to the middle term. In this case, the middle term is negative 4, okay? So things that multiply to 12 would be 12 and 1, 6 and 2, and 4 and 3. Now, one of them has to be negative, because anytime you multiply numbers to get a negative number, one of them has to be negative. If you're multiplying to get a positive number, either they're both positive or both negative. So in this case, let's see, if I need it to be a negative number, so I want the bigger number to be negative. That gives me negative 11, that one gives me negative 4, that one gives me negative 1. So that's the winning pair there. So now what I do is I split the negative 4x. It doesn't matter whether I put the negative 6x first or the 2x first. You can put them in either order. It doesn't matter if you want to switch them, you can. So it doesn't matter, you can go like that, switch them, you'll get the right answer either way. Okay, now I'm going to bring down the 4x squared on the minus 3 also, and I'm going to draw a line down the middle, and I'm going to factor by grouping. So now I'm factoring the left side. I'm seeing what I can pull out of 4x squared and 2x. In this case, they're both divisible by 2, and they're both divisible by x. What's left inside is, when I divide, I'm going 4x divided by 2x is 2x. 4x squared divided by 2x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. I had 2 x's up here. I pulled 1 out there, which leaves me with 1x left. All right. The other one, 2x divided by 2x. Now, it's important I keep that one there, okay? The 1, anything divided by itself is 1, and it's important to have that there. If I went and did distributive property, I have to get this, all right? If I'm not getting that when I go back and multiply it out, then I've made a mistake, which is one reason that you need to keep that, the 1 there. Okay, now the right side, I can pull out a 3, they're both divisible by 3, which leaves me with negative 2x minus 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now, in order for this to work, my parentheses, my two sets of parentheses have to match. In this case, they don't, but they're really close. And there's a trick here, and the trick is I'm going to pull out these negatives, okay? I'm going to make the 3 a negative, and then I'm going to change the sign of each thing inside the parentheses, all right? So that 2x, the negative 2x becomes positive 2x, the minus 1 becomes plus 1, and now my parentheses are going to match, okay, which is big, because now I can follow through and write down what my two sets of parentheses are going to be. All right, so let's see. One set of parentheses is what's inside the parentheses, which is 2x plus 1. The other set of parentheses is what's outside the parentheses, which is 2x minus 3. And that is the answer. And that's the big thing for you to be able to do today. All right, number 2. Now there's also, this is like a special case I'm going to go through here. This is called the difference of two squares. And I can't tell you how many times this comes up in math. It just comes up all the time, all the way through pre-calc, calculus. It just keeps popping up all over and over again. And it goes like this. If I have a squared minus b squared, they're both perfect squares, then this can be factored into a plus b times a minus b. And a simple example of this, I guess number 2, not number 1, is if I had x squared minus 81, what do you get when you factor that? Well, I got two sets of parentheses, x, and the square root of 81 is 9. So it's actually plus or minus 9, which will give me plus 9 minus 9. So one's plus, one's minus. And that's what goes in the parentheses, and that's it. It's really that easy. If I had this one, 4x squared minus 81, this one's almost the same. The only difference is I put a 4 in front of the x squared, which means when I go in here, I'm going to go x. It's the same kind of thing, x plus 9 and x minus 9. The difference is the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, so I'm going to put a 2 in front of both x's. Now, if you wanted to check your work, and you could do FOIL or box to check. Multiply it back out. Answer. One of these days I'll spell correctly. Answer. All right, so there's that one. Now, there's also a perfect square. And this goes a squared plus 2ab plus b squared equals a plus b to the second power. There's also the subtraction form of that, which is a squared minus 2ab plus b squared equals a minus b to the second power. So those are the equations for it. Let me give you a problem here. Number 5, I think I'm on. I got x squared minus 6x plus 9, and they want me to factor it. So, if I'm going to check it, I start over with what's the square root of c, which in this case is 3. And then, if I take, so I'm thinking that, it's x, since that's a minus, it's going to be a minus here. X minus 3. So if I take these two and multiply them together and then double it, you get the middle term. That's kind of the x squared. The front's a perfect square, the back's a perfect square, then it's really a matter of whether the middle matches up with it. So x times negative 3 is negative 3x, negative 3x times 2 is negative 6x, so that does work, which means my answer is either x minus 3 times x minus 3 or x minus 3 squared, one of those two. Okay, they're both the same thing, just written differently. Number 6 is a little trickier because I'm putting a number in front of the x squared. However, I'm looking at, the square root of 4 is 2, square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 25 is 5. They're all pluses. So if I take this and I take 2, square root of x squared is x, square root of 25 is 5. Now to check it, I like to go a times c, or sorry, 2x times 5, and then double it times 2 had better be 20x, which in this case it is. So that's me checking. All right. So those are some of the couple special cases with factoring. All right, so number 7. The area of a rectangular field is 2x squared minus 27x plus 36. Find its length and width in algebraic expressions. All right, so this is a factoring problem because, we're going to get an answer like, one side is 2x plus 3, the other side is x minus 5. So to start, I go a times c, which is 2 times 36. I would see if they were all divisible by 2, but that one's odd, so it's not. So there's no shortcut there. So I got 72. Now, factors of 72 are, quickly 18 times 4. There's quite a few of them for 72. 72 times 1. I need the ones that add up to negative 27. 24 and 3. That's a good one because that adds up to positive 27, which is close. If I make them both negative, then they multiply to positive 72 and add up to negative 27. So that's the pair I want to use. I'm going to split it this way. Remember, it doesn't matter whether you put the 24 first or the 3. Negative 24x, negative 3x plus 36. Bring down the 2x squared. Put a line down the middle. Now factor by grouping. I'm going to pull out a 2 and an x out of here. And what's left is x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. X squared divided by x is x. Minus 24 divided by 2 is 12. On the right side, if I pull out a 3, I get x plus 12 and negative x plus 12. All right, now that same type of thing happened earlier. These are close, but notice how the signs inside the parentheses are off. The parentheses have to match in order for this technique to work. Now, there's that wonderful trick where I pull a negative out to the 3, to the number in front of the parentheses, and then change the signs of both things inside the parentheses. So the negative x becomes positive x, plus 12 becomes minus 12, and the rest of this is going to stay the same. And now I can write down my answer. One answer will be what's inside the parentheses, which is x minus 12. The other answer, or the other set of parentheses, will be what's outside of it, which is 2x minus 3. And that is my answer there. Okay. Next one. What's that, 7 to 8? Let's make this a u try. Factor 3x squared minus 14x minus 24. All right, and show me how you do that. And you can bring it to class. I'll tell you what the answer is, just so you can know if you got it right. The answer is 3x plus 4 times x minus 6. But you can show me the work how you got there. Okay. You know what? I'm going to take it one level farther. I'm going to do a couple more u tries. I want you to do these also. I want you to factor 9x squared minus 144. And I also want you to factor 4x squared . 4x squared minus 36x plus 81. This one will be a perfect square. I'll give you a hint there. This one will be a difference of two squares. And you can bring those answers to class with you. So I'm going to stop there, close things out with a little more music. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Perfect darkness.